What is going on, everybody? My name is Nico, and welcome back to another Pokemon BDSP breakdown for competitive with another Pokemon that I really like using. Let me tell you, this one is a very interesting one. Definitely can rotate it in on a lot of different teams. Works very well with a bunch of different Pokemon that I previously covered on this channel. That Pokemon's Magnezone. Now, I will say that some people are liking running the Magnezone instead of Magnezone, and I 100% get that. So there's a couple variables there. We have to figure out if you want to run Magnezone or the pre-evolution. That's entirely up to you. This video is focusing on Magnezone, however, because I freaking love it. So if you want more content like this in the future, if this is your first time here on the channel, make sure you are subscribed for more Pokemon videos like this. Let's get into it. So first thing I want to say about Magnezone is that it definitely has some weaknesses, and there's going to be less movesets that are super effective to use on this due to that fact. However, as I say in all these videos, this is just my experience. These are Pokemon that I've used a lot and I have tried a couple different things on. These are not the set in stone movesets or EV spreads that you can use on this Pokemon. You can do whatever you want. This is just to get your gears turning and really help you figure out what you want to do while you're team building. So the biggest weakness is, like, you look at this Pokemon, right? You look at Magnezone and you go, that Pokemon levitates. It doesn't levitate. It has no levitate at all, which makes it kind of a pain to use for that reason, because you still have that huge ground weakness being an electric and a steel type, which is frustrating because it levitates. You look at it and it's levitating. Like, you expect this Pokemon to not take ground damage at all, and sometimes you do forget it, and I forget it constantly. But it does get analytic and it is very slow. So you're going to be doing big damage just off that alone, which is kind of nice. So because we are not actually levitating and Pokemon does not obey the laws of physics here, we run a Shuka Berry because we can still take ground damage. And this is going to save you a lot, especially with all the earthquakes that are going to fly your way, okay? This is going to save your hind end so much because you're going to have the damage of those super effective ground type attacks, which is huge. So the moves you're going to be running on this bad boy: Flash Cannon, Thunderbolt, Thunder Wave, and Volt Switch. Super nice. Nature, modest nature, because you're not really going to try to outspeed anything. That's the big thing with this Pokemon, is you're just going to let analytic do its thing. You're not going to try to outspeed or do anything of that nature, because you get your bonuses there, and it is pretty defensive. If you look at its defensive stats here, you're going to be able to take some hits with this Pokemon and not have to worry about too much. So I like a 252 on the health, 56 on the special attack, because you're going to be slow and using that analytic to boost your attacks. You don't really have to worry about it, especially with how high the base special attack is. Then you rocket your special defense with 200. Again, modest nature, super nice. Now, there are some other options. Potentially, you want to run this in a Trick Room team. You want to run this in a Trick Room set. Then you can go with a couple different options. Now, you could just go with Sturdy here, have your built-in, because if you're running Trick Room, you're not going to be the last Pokemon to move that turn. So Sturdy is going to give you that built-in Focus Act, which can help and can be potentially very good. Again, Shuka Berry here, going to help you out a lot with those ground-type attacks. But because we're running this in a Trick Room scenario, same EV spread, but we're going to have a quiet nature, so we can lower that speed, and then we're also going to have a 0 speed IV. Ideally, obviously, that's kind of a pain to get, so you don't have to worry about it too much if you're, trying to run this on a Trick Room team, because it's just a slow Pokemon to begin with. But if you can get the lower speed IV, that's going to help you out a lot. But same spread, same deal, super strong Pokemon. Finally, we have choice specs. Now, obviously, we're not going to be running Thunder Wave. You can replace it with whatever you want to do. But same deal. This is just going to do big damage. Now, I have it set up like we're running it in Trick Room. However, the choice specs can be very nice in a non-Trick Room setup. So, change your thing back to modest. Wherever modest, why am I struggling? Modest. And then you run analytic, and you're going to be doing big damage again, because you are going to be slower than most Pokemon. But you don't have that defense from the Shuka Berry, and a lot of Pokemon do have access to Earthquake, so it can potentially be dangerous to run Magnezone with the specs, but you can do it. It does have some benefits to do so. Now, Pokemon that this just works super well with. Pokemon that work well with Magnezone, one that comes to mind immediately is Manaphy. You're going to be worried about those electric type attacks. Rotating Magnezone in, you're not going to take any freaking damage for those. So rotating that in, or even grass type attacks, you rotate Magnezone in, you're resistant to grass, you're not going to take any damage. So stuff like that's super, super good. So you can handle things like Breloom and stuff like that because Magnezone doesn't take a whole lot of damage. Again, Breloom has Mach Punch, just depending on how the Breloom's set up. Whether or not you actually want to take Breloom on with this Pokemon can be a toss-up. But again, that grass type stuff to switch in Magnezone to, that can be extremely, extremely helpful. Other Pokemon that this works well with, Latios is one that comes to mind immediately, because it does have Levitate. For whatever reason, both Pokemon fly in-game, both sprites fly, but Latios has Levitate and Magnezone does not. So, just something to note there is that, you know, you can have a Levitate Pokemon, so you can rotate in on those ground type attacks. So, Rotom works incredibly well with this Pokemon, because you're going to be able to rotate in a Levitate Pokemon. For example, the team I run Magnezone in has both of these Pokemon, Latios and Rotom. Super, super nice. Super nice. Works very well. If you want to see the full breakdown for this particular Magnezone team, I do have a video up already discussing that team, so check that out if you're interested. But having Pokemon with Levitate is going to help you out dramatically, just because, again, you're going to not be able to take those ground type hits. Also, you're going to be weak to fighting, so things like Infernape or, you know, any Pokemon that has access to a fighting type move, having something like Latios is very nice because you are psychic, you're going to be able to take that hit. That's going to be effective. But for Infernape, again, Manaphy or Starmie, things of that nature come to play because, you know, they're going to go for a Flare Blitz or something. You rotate these Pokemon and they take the hit. Other things that could potentially work for situations like that, Heatran, but then you have two Steel types, so it's just something you kind of have to manage based on the team you're building around, because Heatran's going to be able to take that and absorb that hit. So just stuff you need to consider in those scenarios. So the big Pokemon that you're going to be afraid of in this situation, again, are things like Infernape. Anything that has access to a ground type move, so Garchomp, Gliscor, those Pokemon are going to pose serious threats here to Magnezone because of the ground type advantage that they have. Just something to know. Another big Pokemon that's going to cause this problems is going to be something like Mamoswine. Mamoswine is going to have big advantages because, again, Earthquake. In its ground type, it's just going to cause issues. Now, you do have Steel type moves. You're going to have an advantage in that regard against this Pokemon. But something you got to note about that, especially considering that most of those Pokemon are going to be faster. Now, with the Shuka Berry, that does give you that advantage. You can take a hit. You can take a hit and be able to get off the attack. So, for example, in a situation where you're going against a Mamoswine or something to that effect, and you know they're not sashed, whatever it may be, you can take that hit with the Shuka Berry, Flash Cannon, and then you're golden. So that's just something to note in that situation. You're going to be able to do those kind of things, those kind of cheeky plays because of the Shuka Berry. The biggest thing to remember with this particular Pokemon, though, when you're going up against anything, is your speed, and that can be an advantage to you. Even though you're slower, based on the Pokemon that you're going up against, because you're so specially defensive, I'm knocking over stuff on my desk, because you're so specially defensive, or defensive in general, you can take hits from Pokemon and get that big analytic hit on certain Pokemon. So that can prove to be very successful, depending on the Pokemon you're going up against. For example, if it's a Glass Cannon type Pokemon, like Alakazam or Gengar, you might be able to take the hit from the Pokemon and then do big damage. So that's just something you have to note. Again, those Pokemon do have access to stupid stuff like Focus Blast, so you have to take that risk. You have to consider those variables, but there is that potential for Magnezone to just come out swinging with Analytic after it takes a hit, so just something to note there. But that is pretty much all I have for this particular Pokemon breakdown. Hope you guys found it entertaining and helpful. Like I said earlier, there is a team I have on the channel featuring Magnezone that I will have linked in the description below for you guys, so check that out if that is something that interests you. But that is going to be it for this. If you found it entertaining and helpful, leave a like, smash that subscribe button for more Pokemon videos like this in the future, and hope to see you all in the next video.